Welcome to Mondays with Vish. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Vish Kumaran. If you're not aware, this show is now so popular that there's a spinoff show called Saturdays with Amin, and it's Ben and Amin, and they're 13. Vish, you're a normal person, over in Chicago, but over here you're an icon. There's like murals of you next to Mack Dre. It's amazing how you've taken off over here, but I'm sure it's nice to be normal and be able to go about your day-to-day life in Chicago like a normal person. How are things?
I'm good. Who is this Amin and what is this show?
Amin is a 13-year-old Indian kid from Fremont who's hella smart, who calls into the Cohn phone every weekend. He started a show with a 13-year-old kid from the East Coast named Ben, and they have a StreamYard together, and it's a lot like our show except they're 13. I think it's pretty funny.
That's awesome. I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're inspiring people.
Is Ben the kid that calls in with the real high voice and
and he's like this close to the he's like like that. Yeah. Those guys are very passionate. And Amin calls in. Amin's probably watching right now. Anyway, we got stuff to talk about.
I've seen Ben once because I heard him call in and he was like, "Hey, Grant, the Niners should draft Justin Fields, okay? I'm a Michigan fan, so I know this guy."
Well, dude is 13. The funny thing about Amin, and he calls in like, "Yo, what's up? How you doing, man?" He got like this puberty.
He's got the swag, huh?
Yo, what's up? How you doing? Yeah. All right. So last week. I was in Tahoe in North Star's parking lot looking for service on my phone, and I got some. We talked about some stuff. Now we've had a week to really think about every single possibility. I think a lot of Niner fans have talked themselves into pretty much everything at this point. And what I respect about Vish is he's the opposite of me in the sense that he doesn't really change his mind very much. He gets a beat on something and he sticks with it. And so I'm curious, Vish, at this point, let's start it before we ask who the Niners are going to get at 3, who you're pretty much settled on thinking they're going to get. Do you think that number 2, the number 2 pick with the Jets is in play?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think the Niners would like it to be in play. I do think that, you look at Zach Wilson, he kind of represents the best of both worlds in terms of physically, he's impressive, and he's run an offense that's similar and has a skill set that translates perfectly to this offense. So he kind of represents.
He's a 3-year starter.
Right. So he kind of represents the best of everything for the Niners. I just think that pretty much everybody national seems to just say that Zach Wilson is the pick at 2. And usually when they're this certain near the top of the draft, because it's usually right on. Because usually the national media, where they start to struggle is like pick 5, pick 6, pick 7. That's when the draft usually goes to hell. But usually by April, everybody has kind of an idea that the first 3 picks will be X, Y, and Z. The first 2 picks will be X and Y. And I think for that reason, I just don't think it's in play. I think the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson. I think the Jaguars are going to take Trevor Lawrence. And I think the Niners are going to have to settle for whoever their 3rd guy is or whoever their 2nd guy is, or maybe that's their 1st guy. But whoever that is, it's going to be that guy at 3.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the smokescreen business a little later, like if they're creating one and this. We'll talk about that later. But real quick, as a preview, it seems to me that if the Jets are taking Zach Wilson and the Niners know that, the whole league knows that, they're not going to trade that pick. It's locked in. 99.9%, then the Niners really wouldn't have to create a smokescreen. We could talk about that later, but that's why I'm skeptical. It seems like a lot of people think the Niners are creating a little, subterfuge here or whatever. I don't know if that's a word. It probably is, but I'm just saying, I think a lot of people are saying, well, you can't read the Niners. Maybe they have something up their sleeve. Maybe there's one more move.
So we're going to talk about this a bit later, but just as a rebuttal to that, what I will say is I don't think the Niners are putting out any of this information.
True.
They're taking. This isn't the Niners putting it down.
That's true. I think speculation.
The speculation, and it's all speculation stemming from people who know people close to Kyle Shanahan, or they know Kyle Shanahan, and they know how he thinks. Yes. And based on how he thinks, they're saying, we think it could be Mac Jones.
Good point.
Right. So that's really where this speculation is stemming from. And it could be right. It could be wrong. Nobody knows. And none of those people are coming out and saying, hey, Kyle told me this is the pick, or John Lynch told me this is the pick, or Mike Shanahan told me this is the pick. They're like, I know Kyle. I've been with Kyle, or I spent X amount of time with Kyle, and based on how he thinks, and I know him as a person, I think that Mac Jones makes the most sense. And that's where I think that is. But going back to the number 2 overall pick, which is the topic of conversation here, I think that in an ideal world, the Niners wouldn't mind just giving up an extra third or giving
or
up a second and just going and getting Zach Wilson. I mean, you've already come this far. Why not just go get your guy if that's Zach Wilson, or maybe Zach Wilson isn't their guy? I seem to tend to think that just based on skill set, he would be a guy that they would.
If the Jets really like him, I would think the Niners would really like him. That's the thing. Right. I think the Jets and Niners would have very similar grades on these players.
Oh, that's where I think it's one of the funniest angles in the NFL that hasn't been talked about. It's the fact that you're Mike LaFleur. I mean, Joe Douglas is obviously going to be the pick, but you're Mike LaFleur, Robert Saleh. You're first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator. You're trying to build the offense, and you're inspired by the guy, Kyle Shanahan, who just traded up to pick one spot behind you. To have the confidence to take whichever quarterback you believe in, knowing that he's like, all right, you can have him. I want this guy. That must be hard. And then do you overthink it and go, well, wait. So he doesn't want Zach Wilson? Well, I'm running the same offense, and he's okay with me taking Zach Wilson. Maybe he wants Mac Jones. Maybe he wants Trey Lance. Oh, wait. Should we take one of them? Wait, and then he took Zach Wilson. It's like they're playing mind games. I think it's a really funny angle to this entire thing. But again, not to go on the tangent, I just believe the Jets are set in on Zach Wilson. I feel like Steve Young said they're talking about houses in New York. So usually when you're going there, I mean, there's not much else to say other than Jets are set in on Zach Wilson. And then I think Trevor Lawrence knew he was going
If it's that
one.
Cut and dry, though, I just don't understand people coming around being like, hey, man, the Niners, they got to keep people on their toes. Like, if everyone knows what the Jets are going to do and everyone knows what the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to do, then it seems like we should have a real good idea of what the Niners are going to do. And maybe we do. Real quick, Sean Brady says, talk to me, Vish. Give me odds you feel Jets take Pitts or Sewell at 2 and let Wilson slide at 3.
Low.
0.
I say low.
0.
Low.
I feel like if the Jets want to do that, then you swap.
Right. So Pitts, I think Pitts is the best non-quarterback player in this draft, and he might be the best singular player in this draft.
That's true.
But again, taking a tight end at 2, as good as the player might be, it's
think
still
of him as a wide receiver. Think of him as a wide receiver. Whatever.
Even then, I still think maybe if it was a receiver, I don't know.
Think of him as a wide receiver. Calvin Megatron was number 2. But yeah, okay.
Right. I just think taking that player, especially when people seem to think the quarterbacks are really, really, really good in this draft. So because of that, it's a little rich. And then Sewell, I just think if Sewell had played this year, maybe Sewell would have guaranteed his status as being this cinch. Jonathan Ogden, Walter Jones, Trent Williams, Penei Sewell. You pick him in the top 5, and he's your left tackle for the next 15 years. He's a franchise-level left tackle. But since he didn't, even though he had a hell of a pro day workout, I mean, it was scary watching a guy his size move like that running the 3 cone. He's not from this planet, but I just think that there's no way the Jets would take him and pass on Zach Wilson.
Now, I could see them saying, you know what? Even though we have Corey Davis and Denzel Mims, just swapping out Sam Darnold for Zach Wilson doesn't necessarily ensure success for us or success for the quarterback. Maybe the best move is to take Pitts or whatever. But I still think if they make that decision, which seems unlikely, that the next thing is to trade down. You don't take Pitts at 2. You know the Niners would love to trade up. You call them and say, hey, we'll trade down one spot like the Niners did with the Bears that year in 2013.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
Actually, where I stand, not to go on a little Jets tangent, but just real quick, I actually think the New York Jets should keep Sam Darnold and draft Zach Wilson. They've gotten it wrong so many times. Sam Darnold, at this point, they had enough picks and resources. That 3rd-round pick or 4th-round pick, whatever you're getting for Sam Darnold, is not worth it. Make them both compete. Whoever wins the job, then have that guy play this year. And let's say you like what Zach Wilson's doing in practice, then you franchise Sam Darnold, or you try and there's things you can do with Sam Darnold and get a resource for him if he looks better. And if Sam Darnold still sucks, well, you have Zach Wilson. And Sam Darnold is still 23 years old. So if he goes out and just kills it, Zach Wilson is still going to go for a 1st-round pick next year, because if Sam Darnold's killing it, then nobody's going to look bad at Zach Wilson. They're just going to say, wow, Sam Darnold finally killed it in a great position. So now you have a 24-year-old franchise quarterback, and you're getting assets for Zach Wilson. So I think their best possible scenario, just because they've gotten this wrong so many times, is keep Zach Wilson, keep Sam Darnold, and draft Zach Wilson.
The Niners said they wanted a backup quarterback. Kyle Pitts is the pick.
No.
I'm cool with that, though. But We could talk about why later. I'm very conservative when it comes to drafting quarterbacks just because of historical patterns and what. But we're going to get to that. I want to come back to Justin Fields. Vish really likes Justin Fields. Most 49er fans really like Justin Fields and want him to be the pick. And I'm not saying you're doing this because I know you're not. But a lot of Niner fans want Justin Fields so much that like every piece of news that comes out is further proof that the Niners are going to take Justin Fields. And it's gotten to the point where I feel like a large segment of Niner Twitter are kind of like in QAnon mode. And they're like, well, look, like from the stuff between the QB collective and all these things, they are setting up a smokescreen so that people don't know how much they like Justin Fields. I mean, that's possible. Teams do stuff like that. Do you think the Niners are setting up a smokescreen and that Justin Fields will be their guy?
No. As much as I would like to convince myself that that's what they're doing, I don't think they're doing it. Actually, I don't even think the Niners are tying themselves directly to any quarterback. I don't think they're attempting to do that. People are tying them to Mac Jones, but I don't think the Niners are even attempting to try and say this is our guy or even say anything. They're just going about their business and people are speculating. I don't look at this.
And depending on who speculates, we put different weight in it because, well, that person knows
exactly.
They have this history, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's all that is. That's all there is to this. Honestly, that is basically all that it is. And I don't think it's a concerted effort, because if it was a concerted effort, like everybody talks about the QB collective, right? QB collective is run by who? Richmond Flowers, Kyle Shanahan's agent, right? Richmond Flowers, if he was trying to protect his smokescreen, he wouldn't be daily, or whoever runs the QB Collective Twitter account wouldn't be daily tweeting Kyle Shanahan with Justin Fields and all of that daily, trying to take advantage of the business angle. So this is not a giant smokescreen. This isn't hey, everybody's thinking we're going to draft Johnny Manziel, and Dave Caldwell has a picture of Johnny Manziel in his office. And guess what? We actually took Blake Bortles at number 3. No, I think this is just we know who we like. We're not telling anybody. You're welcome to speculate, and that's all there is to it.
Vish takes issue with you. Amin takes issue with you, Vish. He says Kyle Trask had a better game versus Alabama than Justin Fields. Vish, he put it in there at the end just to put your name into it. He's calling you out, Vish. Well, you gotta meet Amin one of these days, man. Amin is so money. I love it. You're gonna love this kid. Anyway, he did. Hey, real quick about Kyle Trask, no one cares. We're going to lose 100 watchers if I talk about it for more than 10 seconds. But I've been reading the NFL scouting reports by Lance Erling. He does a great job. His scouting reports are very good. His scouting report, like his conclusions about Kyle Trask are like everyone else's. But his strengths of Kyle Trask, I would have to say strong arm, great touch on the deep ball, accurate. I was like, yep. And the weaknesses are like not fast. Like, yep. So anyway, I thought it was interesting. I thought he had a pretty nice report on NFL.com. Anyway, nicer than Mons was. Mons, every negative of Mons, I was like, yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah, that's kind of true.
So we'll keep it at this. Lance Zierlein did a good job with Trask. He did a poor job with Mond. Shall we agree with that?
And the things he said about Mond is like a little too conservative. He, doesn't always take advantage of uncovered receivers or coverage busts. Doesn't always take the shot deep. Really inaccurate down the field and outside the numbers. And to the last point, I would say, well, yeah, but you give him Devontae Smith or Kyle Pitts all those numbers go up. A lot of that's dependent on your receivers. But the mentality of kind of being cautious is true. And Kyle Trask is a bombs away down the field thrower. If Kyle Trask ends up being a really good quarterback, I wouldn't be surprised. But we just lost so many people. I'm so sorry we didn't. But let's stay on track. Look at Vish. He's like, I told you, shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have gone there. Do you think Kyle Shanahan is set on drafting Mac Jones? Damn, I wish I had actually. Hold on. I'm going to come back to that.
Talking about the smoke screen?
Yeah, did we finish talking about the smoke screen? Hold on. Do you got more? Do you think? I just don't think that they need to have a smoke screen, that they are doing anything. I just don't think.
I don't think they're doing anything actively. I actually don't think they care less. It's literally people who know Kyle are saying, well, I know Kyle. He didn't tell me anything, but because I know Kyle, I think this is a quarterback you would like. And that's all there is to it. It's nothing else. It's really nothing else. There's not much to read into this. I think people are making a massive deal of this. I also think people are making a massive deal that, this Justin Fields thing is like their secret, like as if the Niners are playing 3D chess with the NFL by saying, look, we're gonna put out propaganda about Lance and Jones through like 17 different reporters, and then we're gonna have them talk about them, but we're actually gonna be thinking Fields? No, I don't think the Niners are doing anything, actually.
It's not like they're
I don't
calling up
think
Chris
they
Sims and being
care.
like, hey, tell everyone we like Mac Jones, but don't
Yeah.
say that we told you to tell everyone. And then we're going to make Chris Sims look like an idiot at the end of this by like, I don't think it's going on like this.
And
People just
everyone
taking
says
educated
what?
guesses.
Everyone says what? League sources tell me
Yes.
that the Niners, I think the league seems to think the Niners and Mac Jones,
So, like,
league. They don't say,
other
I just
GMs,
talked to the 49ers the other day, and I think that
That's true. All right, let's put it this way. Most of the people who are close to Kyle, I gotta say, all of them, think that he's pretty set on drafting, or their best guess is that he's going to draft Mac Jones. That's how they put it. From Matt Mayoko to Adam Schefter to Mike Silver to am I missing anyone? Chris Sims, Colin Cowherd. A lot of people, Peter King. I mean, everyone who's connected to the Shanahan say, look, don't be surprised. My best guess, yada, yada, yada. Do you think Shanahan is set on drafting Mac Jones? And if so, do you think anyone in the organization can talk him out of it?
No. To answer the second part of your question, absolutely not.
Okay, that's the first part.
That's probably one of my favorite things about Kyle Shanahan. He has conviction. He believes what he believes, and he's going to go down believing what he believes. That's why he probably started Nick Mullins 2 games too many at the end of last year, because he kept believing that Nick Mullins could turn it around and Nick Mullins could make it happen. And every fourth quarter interception later, he was like, I still believe in Nick. I'm standing by Nick. And then it took him literally to break his elbow for Kyle Shanahan to say, okay, it's time to go to CJ. So he believes in what he believes in, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can change his mind that you can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. I guarantee you he will go to his grave thinking that I could have won a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. That's just who he is. And you have
not just any Super Bowl, the one in 2019 against the Chiefs. He believes that.
Right. And that's just who he is. And you have to have that kind of confidence to be successful in any business, because that's what you need. So if Mac Jones is his guy, nobody's talking him out of him. He's done, in his opinion, the requisite research and looked at every single thing for him to say that Mac Jones is the guy. Is he set on drafting Mac Jones? I mean, Mac Jones makes sense. Everybody who seems to know him seems to say, well, these are the kind of quarterbacks he likes, so therefore I would tend to think it's Mac Jones because he seems to fit that skill set. I don't know if you can say that for sure, just because, honest to God, other than the people that know him, and that's why I think people put so much stock into it, nobody actually has the greatest of ideas on what kind of quarterbacks Kyle likes to draft, just because there's not a sample size of him doing it.
How many?
At the end of the day, Kirk Cousins, and CJ Beathard.
That's it,
third-round pick. But it's a third-round pick and a fourth-round pick. It's not a top 10 pick.
They're both outside the top 100.
Yeah.
So who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So for that reason, that's why I think when people say, well, I think it's Mac Jones, people put extra stock into it, because honestly, nobody knows. And Kyle Shanahan never volunteers information, right? Like, we listen to a presser where he talks about quarterbacks and we parse it every single word for the next 2 weeks. But honest to God, he doesn't say anything groundbreaking. He says, in an ideal world, I would prefer, a guy with a strong arm who plays quarterback, who knows where to go with the football and all that. But
in an ideal world, I'd like a quarterback who's off the charts at everything.
Yeah, but you can't always get that. So then what do you value? So you want a guy who can play quarterback and win from the pocket. And he just goes on this long, it'll be like 2 minutes where he just goes on, and we'll pick at every single word. But honestly, he's not offering any information. He's not telling you, hey, I want a quarterback who, from the pocket, when I see this look, he knows to go here with the ball. I want a quarterback who can make these 7 throws at a very high level. I want a quarterback who, off-play action.
What he's saying is he wants an elite quarterback. He wants an elite quarterback, and that there are all kind of different ones, but there's like 7 of them.
Yeah.
That's why the Niners were probably in Deshaun Watson, because although they passed on him, he wasn't what they were looking for in 2017. He proved it wrong. He's elite. So you want him. End of story. Yeah.
But he doesn't get into the nuances, right? So then you're just picking at, okay, he wants an elite quarterback. Well, I think this guy could be an elite quarterback. So Kyle can want him. But honestly, nobody knows. Nobody knows.
He wants a quarterback like Trey Lance. No, he wants a quarterback like anyone who's in the top 8. Come on. That's what you want. Style doesn't really matter if the dude's good. All right, let's answer some of these questions. Well, before we do, can you I know you said it last week, but your best guess is that Kyle wants Mack and he's going to take Mack. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Zach Wilson is not in play.
People shouldn't get upset. If it's Mac Jones, it's gonna be, if that's who Kyle Shanahan wants, I don't want to hear anything about you don't give up 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones, you don't do this for Mac Jones. Okay. Everybody always says this crap and then they don't believe it, right? Yeah, I always poke fun of it too. Oh, you do whatever it takes to go get a quarterback. Oh, you went and gave 2 first-round picks for Matthew Stafford. Ha, 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 idiot. You gave 2 first-round picks for Matthew Stafford. That's not worth it. No, you do whatever it takes to go get a quarterback. And if Kyle believes it's Mac Jones, then there's no price that's worth enough. Because if he thinks Mac Jones is Matt Ryan, right? Matt Ryan with Kyle Shanahan was a borderline top 5 quarterback and an MVP. That's well worth the 3rd overall pick if he's Matt Ryan for the next 10, 15 years. So
and Matt Ryan was the 3rd pick in the draft, just exactly where the Niners traded up to.
Right. So if you believe that, then go get him. It's not the price isn't too much. That's all I'll say.
Okay, cool. Let's answer some questions. We got a bunch. Matt says, I find the 2nd round pick intriguing. So many needs: interior offensive line, that's guard and center, cornerback, edge, wide receiver. What do you think they do? My gut says Shanny can't help himself. We'll take wide receiver, running back. Fish, quick thoughts on the 2nd round pick, which direction they'll go.
So to me, they got to go corner. Okay. And I think there is corners available. I mean, Kroc, who's the best in my opinion at evaluating corners, seems to think there's depth at the corner position this year. So I think corner would be ideal. I actually don't hate the running back idea in the 2nd round. Like, I know Kyle Shanahan has gotten a couple games out of Jeff Wilson and a few games out of Raheem Mostert, and JaMychal Hasty looked good for a little while. But the Niners need a sustained guy that they can rely upon if they want to be a run-first team in the backfield. Like, you can't have games where 2 games Jeff Wilson, then 2 games Raheem Mostert, then both of them are hurt, 2 games JaMychal Hasty, now Austin Walter. You need somebody reliable. So from that standpoint, I don't hate the running back, but for me, it's got to be cornerback. Corner safety have to be addressed in this draft, and they can be addressed in the middle rounds because the Niners have set starters at least for next year.
I think it's going to be running back because I don't think the Niners have kind of shown they don't really plan ahead at corner. Like, they had a need last year and didn't do anything about it. They could just say, we'll draft corners next year, or we'll sign a bunch of vets on 1-year deals. What all the things you said about the running back, they're going to be like, yeah, man, we started Jerick McKinnon here last 4 times. Plus, they've already shown a propensity to make big investments in running backs. So why not? I wouldn't be.
I mean, they did pay the premium for Jet McKinnon when Matt Breida had a pretty good rookie season. They were allegedly interested in Le'Veon Bell. They did give Tevin Coleman 2 years, $10 million. So this is a position
trade up to take Joe Williams when no one else had them on their draft. I mean, they like doing this, and it's one of the biggest difference between Kyle and his dad. Although his dad did make a trade for Tatum Bell, did he not? Drafted Tatum Bell 2nd round.
Right. His dad also drafted Clinton Portis, and then traded him for Champ Bailey.
That's true. That was a really good trade. I would take Portis for Champ Bailey.
I mean, Mark Schlereth, who played for his dad, I actually just like his commentating for the Niners games because I just love the way he goes, Kyle Shanahan, he's just like his dad. He wants to run the football, man. He just wants to run the football. And I love when he says that, but he always says that, Olandis Gary had a 1,000-yard season. Yeah, Chris Clinton Portis had a couple good seasons. Yeah, Tatum Bell had a couple good seasons. Yeah, Mike Bell was pretty good, but they won the Super Bowl for 2 years when they had who? They had the Hall of Fame guy in Terrell Davis. So I do think that makes a difference. And I'm still someone who believes that if you take a player like Dalvin Cook and you put him in this run game in the offense, you can go to the Super Bowl just with your run game.
And what pick was Dalvin Cook?
I think he was 35 or 36.
And who did the Niners take instead of him?
Reuben Foster.
Mm-hmm. So, there are examples where taking a running back right at that spot is the good pick.
But Cook was also a big character risk coming out of Florida State too. So
he didn't have a great combine either, and I think he had injuries. He was just such a freaking stud in college that it was not surprising that he's as good as he is in the NFL. All right, we got to take some more questions. Kajan says Mac Jones is Kyle Orton 2.0. Fields or Lance have to be the pick. Jones does not have a high ceiling at all. We're going to address that. We're coming back to you. We're coming back to you, baby. We're going to address that. That's a good point. All right. David says Mac Jones makes sense, but that's it. You don't trade those picks for him. Fields it is, most fluid athlete, fastest, 2nd most accurate.
Yeah, so the reason I want Justin Fields over Mac Jones is because I think Justin Fields is flat out better than Mac Jones. It's not because you don't trade 2 picks for Fields, but you do trade them, or you don't trade 2 Fields for Mac. excuse me.
Okay.
It's not that you don't trade 2 picks for Mack, but you do for Fields. I just think Fields is a better football player than Mac Jones. That's the way I feel about it. But at the same time, I think that if Kyle Shanahan, who I love and I believe in, and I'm a Stanahan, if I believe that if Kyle Shanahan believes Mac Jones is the guy and he believes this is Matt Ryan, if I get him, it'll all be good. He's my quarterback. Then there's no price. You just go get him.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I always hear the biggest Kyle Shanahan fans say, hey, man, you can't judge him. When has he had his quarterback? Let him get his quarterback. And now he's making the move to get his quarterback. And Shannon fans are like, hey, you better take the guy I like. It's like, I thought you believed in your guy. Sean said, it hurts me, Grant, to see you being tormented. Grant, say it with Vish. Trask and Mullins are third string at best. Vish, stop enabling Grant. LOL. Yeah, it's your fault, Vish. James says, Smokescreen. If Wilson gone by 3, trade down a few spots and pick Pitts, get Darnold with second-round pick. And do you think the Niners there's any chance that trading down after trading up? No. Sorry, James.
They traded up because they felt good about somebody. That I don't want to hear that they don't have a guy in mind, because I'm almost 100% sure, and Mike Silver says Kyle Shanahan has a guy in mind. He didn't say who it was. Nobody actually knows, I feel like, who it is, and Kyle's not openly telling anybody, but they have a guy in mind, and they're ready to go with that guy. They're geared up. They're planning next season already with that guy.
How are all the QB prospects considered risk, but not Mac Jones and Lawrence? They all have the potential to bust, so at least
they all are.
I can't even read that.
We'll talk about Mac Jones and why he will struggle a little bit early in his career too. I think with Lawrence, you just have 30+ starts in the ACC. He's a high-level prospect. He has elite physical traits. He's just everything you're looking for. So I think with him, it's just at this point, I feel like everybody's kind of just agreed. And I would be surprised, honestly, if Trevor Lawrence isn't a top 15 quarterback day one in the NFL. He's good.
I think people are a little overthinking Trevor Lawrence. People don't talk about him very much, and when they do, I always hear like, is he really as good as we think? Or is the difference between him? It's like, yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah. Yes. Maitland Eagle says, what happens when the play breaks down? Not confident Jones scrambling or extended plays. Take literally anyone but him.
So I do have a rebuttal for this entire conversation, okay? Because first of all, you have to understand who's the offensive coach for the team that you're cheering for, the 49ers, and that's Kyle Shanahan. When the play breaks down, that's like 3 or 4 times a game, okay? 90% of the time, 95% of the time, the play is there. You got to execute the play first and then worry about when the play breaks down. He's not going to draft a guy for the 4 times a game he thinks he's going to mess up. He's going to draft a guy for the 95% for the 95 percentile of the time that he's calling the right play and the quarterback needs to make the play.
Or the 4 times a season he calls a naked bootleg to the left, deep throw back to the right. You know what I mean? He's not going to draft quarterbacks based on these wow traits, but the things that don't show up in games often enough.
Right. And again, for me, I like Justin Fields because I think, in my opinion, not Grant's, because I know Grant disagrees, I think he does all of these things well enough where you should pick him at 3. That's just the way I feel about it. But I'm not, and so I feel like that about Justin Fields because of that. It's not because of 2 wow plays, and I think he'll give so much off script that I think Justin Fields.
Yeah, I'm not trying to denigrate the Fields fans because that's not fair. He may end up being good. But if Kyle were here right now and he said, look, I like Fields too. He's just not a good fit for the offense I've constructed in San Francisco now. It's more of a quick throw, yards after the catch. That's not his strength. He definitely has a chance to succeed, but I don't feel like I give him the best chance. I would have to change my offense, change my personnel, and I'm not willing to do that. I can just take a guy like Mac Jones, who is executing a very similar offense. That's what I want to do. I mean, if Kyle said that to you, would you be like, well, that's fine. Fine by me.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't get paid any amount of money to make the decision, honestly. And I don't know anywhere near the amount of football Kyle does. So if Kyle feels it's his guy, that's all I'm going to keep saying. I'm a Stanahan. I believe in Kyle. If Kyle believes it's his guy, I don't care. Go get your guy.
Yeah, it's like if you're Stanahan, you can't be Stanahan with conditions. You know, This is part of it. If he likes a quarterback named McCorkle who doesn't lift weights, that's just it's part of the deal of being a Stanahan. No one said it was going to be easy. Why are we trusting Kyle with the quarterback selection? His record shows don't listen to him, listen to Adam Peters.
What's Adam Peters' record with quarterbacks? Wasn't
That's
he in
a good point.
Denver when
Yes,
they
he
picked
was.
Paxton Lynch?
Yes, he was. People love Adam Peters for some reason. Gamon Brown says NFL games are now 17. NFL seasons are now 17 games long. Durability is a factor. Alcohol-related issues are an issue. See Alden Smith, McLuhan. Lance, please.
No, I actually think with Mac Jones, I've said it before on your show. The scariest thing to me about Mac Jones is the fact that he had a DUI when he was 19, and even though he hasn't had anything since then. He has clear as day has a beer belly, and I don't know why that is. Maybe he's just like that because I've also seen some people consume incredible amounts of alcohol and don't seem to show it in terms of their body. But Mac Jones seems to show it, so we'll see.
Who was the last pocket passer to come into the league with a beer belly?
I don't know. Is it Peyton Eli?
Jameis. I thought Jameis had a little bit of a tummy.
I thought Jameis was just chubby in general. It wasn't like a belly. He was just kind of a little chubbier.
He had a little chub. That sounded wrong. Do we have anything? Oh, wait. Yeah, sorry about that. Santiago Esquino says, can we take a moment to appreciate the amazing name that is McCorkle Jones? Oh, yeah. It's a great name. Talk about a hero franchise needs.
I mean, I'm a guy whose name is Vish. So for me, McCorkle Jones isn't anything extraordinary. It's just another name.
Vish is a strong name. It's one syllable. I like it. It's a strong name. It's a masculine name. McCorkle? Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the best way to handle a name like McCorkle is to win the national championship and be a quarterback. And I guess it's no problem for him. I just think it'd be funny to go from Jimmy G, pretty boy Jimmy G, to McCorkle, who, has a face his mother could love. So, hey, I think it'd be an interesting transition for the 49ers fan base. Big Dez, last question. Actually, there's a couple more. Shanahan has ultimate job security. He is young and cool, and he's going to want a guy that symbolizes his mentality and vision. Fields or Lance is good.
Sure. I mean, honestly, what Grant and I are telling you is that we have no clue.
No clue.
Who he likes and who he doesn't like.
And all these people that say that, yeah. What?
I like that everybody who's in the comment section today is just ready to go. It's Fields. It's Lance.
Got to be Lance. I mean, based on what I know, and it's a lot, Tony says, don't you think it's just as likely that Kyle is limiting his offense for Jimmy as it is he could open it up for Fields or whomever, physical traits?
Yeah, but he could also open it up for Mac Jones mentally. I mean, Mac Jones mentally, for me at least last season, showed that he's a step above from Jimmy G. And he also showed he's a step above as a thrower. I think Mac Jones is the best deep ball thrower in this class in terms of just pure accuracy and ball placement, not arm strength. Like Trey Lance has a way bigger arm, but I don't think Trey Lance is anywhere close to as good as a deep ball thrower at this exact moment than Mac Jones. So like all those things that you say with Jimmy, and that's where when people bring up the Niners have never told you, man, we hate the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is immobile. Man, we hate the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo's arm isn't strong. Man, we hate that he doesn't throw the ball outside the numbers. No, they complain about his injuries, and they've complained about his decision-making. Mac Jones is a plus decision maker. I mean, injuries, durability, we have
on the field.
Clue, right?
Sorry.
Fair enough. That is true. He is a plus on the field decision maker. He's very accurate. He throws with anticipation, and he throws the ball down the field. So, in theory, if they're okay with Jimmy G's skill set, he would be the best version of what they would have preferred Jimmy G to be.
He's good Jimmy, theoretically. If they take him, they see good Jimmy because physically the skill sets are similar. He's like a young Jimmy, a little bit. Questions are coming in so fast. Appreciate it. Not complaining, of course. Only serious prospects at 3 are Lawrence, Wilson, and Lance. Fields and Jones have serious red flags. Fields has no experience in an offense with timing, and Jones has the DUI stuff. You don't trade up for that. Lance will be it.
I mean, I don't get these things that people say with
Lance doesn't have red flags, though?
I know, but where does this Fields doesn't play in an offense without serious timing? I guess if you read one thing in a scouting report, then you know that Fields, the entire Ohio State offense and say they don't play with timing. I mean,
but they do say that part of the reason he locks on to reads is because it's not real. Those plays aren't timing.
It's not as defined, but I think he throws with reasonable timing. I mean, I've seen Fields smoke an 8-yard out or a quick hitch or stuff like that on time, on schedule. It looks good. And at the same time, I've also seen him miss in terms of sometimes his timing and stuff. I'm not going to say that it isn't there. But even Lance, like, it's not like Lance is running the West Coast offense, 3 steps, slant, 3 steps, speed out, all stuff like that. They also do run play action plays that he's maybe supposed to throw off and hitch, and he has extra time to throw because the guy's wide open and it's schemed up to be wide open. So there's stuff like that too. I don't think that this particular comment is fair, because I don't think you're even looking at or understanding like the exact offense that these guys play in or anything.
Look, all I feel is that we're talking about this a little bit more in depth later, but I mean, I understand if Lawrence and Wilson go 1-2, because those are the 2 3-year starters in this. I mean, Mond, of course, but people don't look at him like that. Wilson and Lawrence are the 3-year starters. After them, I have questions in terms of experience because I think it's important. I mean, Mack Jones, 17 starts. Trey Lance, 17 starts. Freaking Justin Fields, I think it's 22.
23.
So
22 or 23. Yeah.
23. So, yeah, I mean, I think all of them have questions. I think Lance, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, Lance has the most. So,
yeah, but I do think the DUI is a fair red flag with Mack Jones. I really do. I do think so.
Absolutely. What was his blood alcohol content? Was it way high?
But he was 19 and he tried to pass off a fake ID after he was caught drinking and driving. Yeah.
Hey, man, that's poise. That's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. I'm sorry. To all the people out there that were offended by that joke, I take it back. Easy Tino said, what team in the NFC West can match up with Pitts, Kittles, Ayuks, Debos? Kyle, for once, draft a Hall of Fame prospect and check your ego. Hey, man, I'm sold. I'm sold on that.
I mean, it's so hard, right? I don't want to be the guy saying don't draft Kyle Pitts, because I think that there's no way Kyle Pitts isn't good in the NFL. He's just so good. But at the same time, I think that for the Niners, I think they feel really strongly that they have a quarterback problem. That's why they've knocked down every single avenue in trying to fix that problem the last 2 years, and that's why they gave up so many picks to go up to 3. It would feel a little disingenuous if you don't like Jimmy Garoppolo, to give Jimmy Garoppolo another reason to try and be your quarterback for the future, because clearly you're not convinced with him and you're not 100% happy with him as your guy.
I'm just not convinced that Mac Jones is that much better than Jimmy. Is he better than Jimmy? I can see that. You can sell me on that. But is he 3 first-rounders better? Is he better than Jimmy with Kyle Pitts? I don't know.
No, it's fair. I'm not going to say all these things aren't fair questions.
Because as dude says, you put Kittle, Pitts, Ayuk, Debo on the same field. I mean, freaking Joe Flacco should look pretty good on that.
I mean, just knowing the 49ers luck, we would get like 150 snaps of all of them together. And I would be so upset as a fan. But
real quick, I want to make that
doesn't happen. But what I did want to say was, I think that the bottom line is all these questions are fair, but honestly, it doesn't matter what we think, because if Kyle thinks he's a significant upgrade, then go get your guy. Do you, Kyle? Go get him.
One more thing. We were talking about how Kyle could adjust his offense for Justin Fields, and it doesn't have to be a dink and dunk offense, and maybe that's all about Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, probably started out that way. But I feel like as long as you have Deebo Samuel on your team and George Kittle, you owe it to yourself to throw a lot of short passes a game. I mean, they can do stuff down the field too. Certainly they can. I'm not saying they're not downfield threats, but they're the best in the league at taking the short stuff for long gains. So that has to be in the offense as long as those two guys are here. Ayuk too.
Let me ask you this, all right? Yeah. Imagine this scenario, okay? Imagine the Niners are the Tennessee Titans. They just ran inside zone with Raheem Mostert. They just ran outside zone with Raheem Mostert. It's now 1st and 10. Justin Fields, play action, 7-step drop. You're running a 2-man concept, the drift concept. Brandon Ayuk clears out. Deebo Samuel runs the crosser at full speed. Fields rips the crosser on him. Samuel's not stopping speed, just like A.J. Brown when he goes and snags that. Even though he has those short arms, he extends and goes and grabs that ball. And imagine him now 20 yards down the field running at a safety with a full head of steam in grand Deebo fashion.
Oh, yeah, that would work. I do think he has the arm to throw that. But what I'm saying is there is a huge screen game in the 49ers offense that isn't going away. That is a big part of what the Niners do. And I think if Mac Jones is the pick, people will be like, well, he throws so many passes behind the line of scrimmage. Yep. Exactly.
Then from that standpoint, right, Trey Lance also makes a lot of sense. He's really good at the screen game.
It's a part of the Niners offense. And it's like, it's not the sexy stuff you look at when people are making the case for Justin Fields to be like, look at this impossible throw that he made. Yep. That's cool. But
the thing
what about
is,
the boring stuff?
Hey, Grant, not just to lighten up the mood a little bit, but according to Greg Roman, you can't run screens with an athletic quarterback, so the screen game would be taken out if you draft Justin Fields. And
he had a million excuses not to run screens. Can't run screens against an 8-man box. Okay, dude. Tyler Condensa says, what do you think of Sam Darnold being on the 2021 Jets ticket information site? Is there a silent agreement between Jets and Niners for Wilson? I didn't know that, man.
I didn't know that.
You think they're going to keep both of them? That's possible. That they draft Wilson and keep Darnold.
I think that's what they should do.
It's possible. It's not like anyone wants to trade for Darnold. You're not getting much for him. They tried.
In the age of coddling quarterbacks, and I think making quarterbacks your guy is starting to go. I think like we saw how ruthless Miami was with Tua last year. We saw the way Arizona cold-bloodedly just said bye to Josh Rosen. I think people are starting to realize. I think people are starting to realize that there's so many good quarterbacks and there's so many coming out. Like you can't coddle these guys and keep like propping them up as your guy anymore.
No, they're not your guy. They're your guy if they play well, and they got to show it quick. Otherwise, you're getting fired. Sean says, if you had a time machine, change one moment in Shanny's 4 seasons, what would you go back to? A, draft day 2017 and draft the quarterback. B, not trade for Jimmy. C, not trade for McGlinchey. D, a different time.
A. It's not close.
It's like if Adam and Eve were like, yeah, if we could just go back to that one moment where Eve ate that apple, like we would not do that. We would do that over again. Yeah, that was the original sin that the Niners. It was original.
At the end of the day, you pick Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, this conversation ends because they're not just good. They're great. They're 2 top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah. Jeez, John Garcia says, I know, right? It's just non-stopping. It's all because of you, too, by the way. What's the take on 1-year contracts the Niners signed? How does that shape the idea behind a rookie quarterback needing development? Maybe they do intend to keep Jimmy. Mac Jones is NFL ready, correct? Why the 1-year deals? We'll talk about Mac Jones right now. What do you think all these 1-year deals, and does that have any indication of what their plan is at quarterback?
No, I think those 1-year deals was just them managing to keep a bunch of players they thought they weren't going to be able to keep. And financially for those players, 1-year deals is what makes sense because they definitely 100% are worth a lot more than what they got. Like K'Wan Williams is not a $2.4 million nickel corner. Jaquiski Tartt is not a $1.1 million safety. DJ Jones is not a $3 million one technique. Like these numbers. Jason Verrett, there's no way based on how he played last year that Jason Verrett is only a $5.5 million guaranteed starting corner in the NFL. So because of that, I just think that's how it worked out. And I think that's where the Niners are kind of like, hey, we have once again this really great roster. We have 21 starters for sure. And I think that's where they're a little confused with Jimmy. I think the thing is Jimmy's health at this point is such a question mark that they just got to pull the trigger and move with the rookie. I think the roster is still going to be good. The question is, do you think they can win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo in 2021? I say no. Do you think they can win a Super Bowl with a rookie in 2021? Just history says probably not. So you're better off just giving that rookie 16 games of experience.
17.
Because of that. 17. My fault. Extra game makes a huge difference. So because of that, I think you're better off just giving the rookie quarterback just the experience and the requisite time to get better and develop. And the very next year, like, okay, you might not be able to sign these guys back on 1-year deals, but the wage scale is now a change. It's a different ball game with that rookie wage scale on. Maybe Jason Verrett does come back now on a 3-year contract that pays him what he should be paid. Maybe you bring Jaquiski Tartt back, K'Wan Williams. With the cap going up in the rookie wage scale, the Niners really have a great opportunity to, if they do this right and get the right quarterback, to really be right there for the next 4 or 5 years.
Also, it's not like signing all these vets that were on the team last year to 1-year deals to bring them back with some type of like choice. Like they had all these different options. It seems to me the Niners aren't really a free agent destination right now. And they were able to keep veterans that didn't have strong markets around the league, that had already probably had condos out here in Silicon Valley and were cool to run it back one more time on a team that has upside and has potential to compete. So
the market was
Yeah.
Right. The market was just cut in half this offseason. Like you had teams like New Orleans, Philadelphia, all these teams just trying, first of all, to get under the cap, and second of all, trying to get their players back. So you lose like 16 teams in the market, and the players in the market, like I love Jaquaski Tartt. I like K'Wan Williams a lot. I think DJ Jones is a baller. Those guys aren't bigger priorities than a William Jackson, than a players of that caliber. So the money really just went to William Jackson, Yannick Ngakoue, Carl Lawson, all the big names early. And the rest of these guys were basically scrambling, and they took what was probably the best option for them, which is take a 1-year deal, go back to where you're comfortable, make it happen for 1 more year, and then get paid next year.
It was mutually beneficial. I mean, again, I don't think the Niners made a choice like, hey, we could go out and get Yannick Ngakoue. Nah, not really. If we want to get those guys, we probably have to overpay. They got a guy like Samson Ebukam who's from the West Coast, played in the West Coast, probably open to staying out here. It makes sense. That was their best sign. I love that Samson Ebukam signing, by the way.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too, actually. I keep forgetting to mention it because I think he's going to be a really big contributor next year.
Those are the kind of guys you want to get. And the fact they're tough to get for a team in Santa Clara. It's just, you're not a free agent destination. I don't know if you guys really know about Santa Clara or the taxes out here. Real estate, it's hard. These players come out there like, are you kidding me? We pay for the plastic bags out here? Yeah, you pay for the plastic bags out here. All right. Let's talk Mac Jones. Yes, you do. A lot of people think he's like the pick because he's the easiest fit. They wouldn't have to change things. He's the most pro ready, whatever that means. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. So I think the pro ready doesn't mean that Mac Jones is going to walk in and be a pro quarterback from day one. He's pro ready to learn an NFL offense. That's what he is. He is ready to learn an NFL offense. But learning an NFL offense and then being able to execute it at a high level are two totally different things. Like Mac Jones might be ready to consume the verbiage and be ready to go make the right calls and perform in the offense correctly, but he might still make a lot of mistakes. And I think that's what's bound to happen with Mac Jones in his rookie year. Like, I'm higher on the idea, I think, than the average person of Mac Jones to the 49ers. I want Justin Fields. I wouldn't hate Mac Jones. But I think Mac Jones is going to turn the football over a lot in his rookie year. And I think that's just a product of the fact that he's a pocket passer. Right. If he plays, and the way pocket passers learn is reps. Mac Jones, even if he's playing really good ball and he's doing a lot of things, he's going to have a lot of learning. What's the word? Learning.
Growing pains.
Growing pains. There it is. Growing pains.
Yeah,
he's going to have growing pains. And you're going to have to go through it, because the bottom line is he's going to see looks in the NFL that he's not seen in college. And if you're Justin Fields, if you're Trey Lance and you're athletically very gifted, you might see that look and you can just run out of it. You can just use your athleticism to go create a play. And that's what guys like Kyler Murray do. And that's why they're so effective, so young and so early in their career. But if you're Mac Jones, the way you learn is you might have to throw an interception because you can't run out of there. There's pressure in your face. You just have to throw the ball to where you think it's supposed to go. It's probably if it's the wrong decision, you throw an interception, and you're going to have to learn from that. And you're going to have to learn within the offense from that. And now if you give him the time and maybe you start him 3-4 years and he learns everything, he might be a 10 to 12 year starter, but it's going to be, I don't think the transition is you just put Mac Jones in this offense and he has a 27 touchdown, 4 interception season. I think you put Mac Jones in this offense and maybe he has a 26 touchdown, 14 interception season, which is similar to the 27 touchdown, 13 interception season Garoppolo had. I mean, Matt Ryan threw 17 interceptions his first season in this offense. And Matt Ryan was a Pro Bowler before he got into this offense. So I do think there's going to be, I feel like it's not been discussed enough. And I think part of the reason why pocket passers in our recent times have not succeeded is because teams have not been willing to give them the time and the reps to learn from it. Like even young career, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, like, yeah, both of those guys now, they know everything. They play quarterback from the pocket. They're phenomenal mentally. When they started, they both ran out of some plays where they didn't know what to do and made plays with their physical tools. And then they learned how to play quarterback. And that's where it's going to be fun to see if a guy like Kyler Murray does develop that aspect of his game. Because if he doesn't, then who knows what's going to happen to him 3-4 years down the road.
Also, like, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, all the best pocket quarterbacks of the past 20, 25 years, all really struggled early on in their career. Like even Brady, who won Super Bowls early in his career, he sat his first year, and go look at his numbers the first 5-6 years of his career. His quarterback rating was in the 80s. He threw picks. It took him till about 30 years old before he became like, leading the league in quarterback rating. Pardon?
Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, two examples of guys that look at them now. They're playing really good football. Derek Carr, another guy. Like they're not like they're all somewhere between like 11 to 15 in the NFL. They're all really good quarterbacks, but I don't think anybody just hangs their hat on them being superstars. But they're really effective at executing a system, knowing where to go with the football, being athletic enough to offer a little bit more than the system, especially Tannehill and Carr. So I think that it takes time and reps, and you need to afford that time and reps. And the funny thing is, we were talking about this on the phone. What the definition of a successful quarterback these days, I don't even know what it is at this point. Like 2 years ago, we all thought Carson Wentz was a mega success. You don't draft a guy at number 2 overall to give him a second contract and then subsequently trade him. You draft a guy number 2 overall because you think he's your quarterback for the next 10 to 12 years. Right. And that's where now Carson Wentz is an unsuccessful draft pick. Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, when they year 3, I think we all looked at it and we were like, wow, Tennessee has a nice thing. They made the playoffs with Marcus Mariota. Ooh, Jameis has got so much talent. Mike Evans, this Bucs team, they're the new it team. They just picked O.J. Howard. We think they're going to be good. No, they were never good. They never became good. They never became what we thought. So, like, this early career success can be a little bit misleading. Like, okay, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, early career success, boom. They're going to be superstars for the next 10 years. I think we can agree. Josh Allen, I think he's trending in that direction, but everybody else, I mean, and Lamar, in my opinion, is also closer to trending in that direction. But most other guys, I would say the jury's still out. Even Justin Herbert, who I love, and I think he had the best rookie season of all time. We still got to see probably one more season maybe before we are sure.
We don't know what to make of Joe Burrow, who looked good before he got hurt. I mean,
the
jury's still out on Baker Mayfield. I mean, a lot of these guys have a lot to prove. Yep.
Even Kyler.
Yep. All right. Next question. Tyler says, draft the player, not the fit. Mac Jones is the top player on their board. They take him. If it's field, they take him regardless of fit.
Agreed. All right. 100% agree.
Okay. So here, this is an interesting topic. We've talked about this in the past. One of the first things we talked about when Mondays with Vish started was how it amazed you as a 20-year-old student, not in the journalism game, how these draft experts shape people's perceptions of players. So when, New York passed on Dwayne Haskins, the media conditioned the Giants fans to just lose their mind, even though they didn't really know Dwayne Haskins or Daniel Jones.
Right.
And the media didn't really either. So
if you remember, 2 days after the draft, there was reports that if Daniel Snyder never pushed Jay Gruden and them to take Dwayne Haskins at number 14, then there was a chance he might have slid out of the first round.
Right. So it seems like, look, the media's been on Lawrence and Fields forever. I mean, since they were in high school, they're celebrities. There's these rivals, scout. Everyone knows about him. Mac Jones has been a backup. He was a 4-star recruit. Draft media wasn't thinking about him last year. He was on their radar. Pardon?
They agreed on Lance last year. And so, like, guys, Mac Jones in particular comes out of nowhere. Same with Zach Wilson. But Zach Wilson is a 3-year starter. Mac Jones isn't. And I think a lot of draft media guys are more down on him than the league is. Is that how you see it? The way I see it is, look, again, who do I want the pick to be? I want the pick to be Justin Fields. This has been a really Max Jones-centric show because he's so polarizing. But I want the pick to be Justin Fields. But what I don't want to hear is people saying, oh, you don't trade up. You don't trade up to 3 to get a guy you could have gotten at 12. How do you know Mac Jones was going to be there at 12? How do you know? Just because 15 mock drafts told you that Mac Jones is going to be there at 12, and that's where I think the media creates perception of what a player actually is, and the value chart is actually so different from the league. And that's why when a guy like Bruce Irvin goes from being a 2nd or 3rd round prospect, that's the groupthink consensus with the media. And then 1 week before the draft, everybody's like, oh, scrambling their mock drafts. And all of a sudden you just see Bruce Irvin's name magically high in the top 20, and Seattle takes him at 15. You see it with DJ Hayden. Jimmy Ward was another guy that people said was going to be a top 35 pick in the draft when the Niners took him at 30. but the league all thought he was a second or third round pick. So there's the media. So there's a massive difference in what the media creates as the perception for a player's value compared to their actual value. And that's where Adam Schefter said in his podcast, if you remember, he said an executive told him that the league views Mac Jones differently from how the fans and media seem to perceive him. And you look at Mike Tannenbaum, who said 1.5 months ago that the ceiling for Mac Jones is that Carolina at 8. He was not going to drop past. Yep. Yeah, he won't go past 8. And when you see those things, that's where I say, don't tell me that you could get Mac Jones at 12 because you actually don't know. You're guessing based on what the media said. And honest to God, like Mac Jones, the media could be right. Mac Jones at 3 could be a mega reach. It could be the worst pick in the world. But you know what? There's probably a reason the Niners felt they needed to trade to 3 to get to Mac Jones, because the league probably views him as a top 5 pick, top 6 pick. That's why.
If they viewed 2 as a top 5 pick, then they would view Mac Jones as a top 5 pick.
Right. I mean, this time last year, mock drafts told you that Justin Herbert was going to fall into the 20s. Jordan Love might be a better prospect than Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love might be a top 15 pick in the draft.
True. They also told you that Tua was the next Steve Young.
People thought Reuben Foster. There was no way Reuben Foster drops out of the top 15.
Patrick Willis. He's Patrick Willis. That's what I heard at the time. So the media is wrong a lot, and they lock in on people early on in their college careers and don't deviate very much. They were all in on Dwayne Haskins. They were totally freaking shocked when his career fell apart. Totally freaking shocked when Daniel Jones rose up the boards. Now, Daniel Jones isn't necessarily a franchise quarterback, but that's a good example of the media
the point
being out of touch.
Right. The point isn't to say someone's right, someone's wrong. The point is to say there's a clear difference in the perception of value.
Yes, absolutely. So when these media guys tell you, man, that was a reach, you don't have to do this for Mac Jones, just remember, they don't freaking know. It seems like in the league, they like Mac Jones more than the media guys. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the league's track record is any better than your favorite draft analyst. It's just the reality of the situation.
Right. And the NFL, like the NFL isn't something that's like not opposed to groupthink. Like tomorrow, if Kyle Shanahan said that, let's pick someone random from this draft. Let's say he said Davis Mills is a first round pick. I think a lot of people in the NFL would reconsider, and then the hot rumor would be Davis Mills is being looked at by a lot of teams as a first round pick. So I think they're not opposed to groupthink either. But I just think that their entire system, I think, of looking into players, unfortunately, we don't get insight into that. I think there is a difference in how the executives, the coaches, and all in what they're looking for and how they look at players than the best media draft scouts, who all do a great job. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, NFL groupthink led to Mitchell Trubisky being higher on just about every team's boards than these 2 great quarterbacks. So there is, I understand why fans are skeptical of NFL groupthink, and maybe just the fact that the league is higher on Mac Jones than everyone else doesn't mean that Mac Jones is going to be good. Maybe they're wrong about him. And you compare his resume to Mitchell Trubisky's resume, it's equally thin.
And the other thing I will say is that the other problem for the media people is that draft is year round. So like the college football superstars, like they have to talk about them, and they have to kind of create an idea and a buzz of where this guy's supposed to go and all of that. The NFL teams really, the big decision makers dig deep into the process after the NFL season. So they don't have the preconceived notions of what's in college football. They just sit and evaluate players. So they don't need to necessarily look at a guy from Northern Illinois, like say Jimmy Ward, and say, oh, Jimmy Ward isn't a first round pick because he went to Northern Illinois, blah, blah, blah. They just look at Jimmy Ward for what he is,
Yeah. Real quick. Mac Jones threw 556 passes in college. Trubisky threw 572. 572. Trubisky threw 41 touchdown passes, and Mac Jones threw 56.
No, Mac Jones, I harp on Trey Lance's experience a lot. Mac Jones's experience is scary too. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. Again, quarterbacks with just 1 year of starting, even if that 1 year looks good, it's unprecedented to have an.
That's why if they do pick Mac Jones and he's the guy, I'm not surprised that they don't want to play him right away, because there's a chance that he's not ready. He could benefit from the reps, but this is a team that wants to win now, and he could really struggle, as you already said, for the reasons we laid out. Okay, Darnay says Nobody speaks on Lance's intelligence. It's good to bring this up. This is one of the big things in Lance's favor, considering
all I hear
very
is
much
Lance
to point out.
Intelligence.
Yeah, because there's not a lot to point
to. He ran the Friday meeting. I mean, all Ryan Day needs to come out and say
the line calls.
Ran our Friday meeting.
But hold on. He made the line calls. He called the audibles. He determined the defense with shifts or motion. And the reason that's important is because Fields did not. Doesn't mean he can't. He just didn't. That's the way they do things at Ohio State.
I've also seen stuff at NDSU where the center is pointing out the mic and making the line calls. Like people have posted stuff like that. And the other thing is
true that he has
motions. Lance is not calling like, hey, receiver, come back here. You're going to motion twice, and that's going to give me the coverage indicator, blah, blah, blah. The motion is built into the play call and built into the offense. The offense is designed for him to be able to just look at the motion. It's something that, in my opinion, is very coachable. This isn't Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning where Andrew Luck just comes to the line of scrimmage and calls the entire offense from the line of scrimmage. I think Lance is probably very smart. I'm not going to say that he isn't. I just think people are picking at very, very, very small things to try and make his intelligence sound like it's way more. It's like vastly more than a Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, even a Kellen Mond, even a Kyle Trask, whoever, a Davis Mills, all these guys.
See, to me, what I hear is a Justin Fields fan bristling at something that could potentially put Trey Lance ahead of Justin Fields. That's the way I hear it. But
you hear it like that. I mean, at the end of the day, I could care less. Like, I'm a 49ers fan first. I opine about this second. So if Trey Lance turns out to be the next Hall of Fame quarterback, guess what? I'm ecstatic.
Good for Trey. Good for Trey.
I could care less about being wrong or right as long as the Niners are good.
Oh man, I missed that $5 question from dude. I'm sorry. These things are coming in fast and it's gone. If you can send it again without money, let me know. I'll answer it. It was green. Jay Christopher says, how come no one is considering Jets to move down? If a trade down with a similar package with the Niners, but like 4 or 5, Smokescreen is definitely still necessary until we get our guy. I think some people are saying like, well, what if Atlanta trades up to number 2? Or what if, the Bengals make them an offer they can't refuse?
Right.
That
was the scenario we basically discussed at the beginning of the show. I just personally believe that it's going to be Zach Wilson.
Yeah. I appreciate the donation. I'm a little more open-minded to this than Vicious, Jay. To me, until it's more clear what's going on, I know that like Steve Young said something and there's been some interesting DMs floating around that I'm not going to talk about. But until it's a little more concrete than that, I feel like you got to at least consider that it may be in play. That the Jets may what?
The ice cream man's outside my house.
Oh, for real? You could live in a neighborhood like that? That is so precious. I like that.
Haven't been to the ice cream man. No, I haven't been there in like 14 years, man.
What are you going to get? Oh, lying. You go every day, right?
Nah. I used to hear that jingle. Ma, can I go to the ice cream? Can I go get ice cream from the ice cream man? No, that's a waste of money.
Ominous24 said, is it a sure thing that no matter who the Niners pick at 3, Kyle and John will say that player was the top player in their draft board?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. This is something Grant and I joke about all the time. And John Lynch sells it so well. We love CeeDee Lamb, but Brandon Ayuk was right there with him. Nick Bosa, Quinton Williams. Hey, we got 2 of the 3 best players on our draft board. And he openly admits Garrett, Thomas, Foster. Those were our 3 best players. Mike McGlinchey, Sony Michel, Derwin James. Those were 3 of the most impressive players we interviewed at the Combine and all that. He just openly gives you extra information that he probably shouldn't about other players and other players that were drafted. That just makes it look even worse 2 years down the road if the player doesn't work out.
It's true. Saying that they would have taken Reuben Foster number 3 if Solomon Thomas wasn't there. You need to say that. John, don't do that anymore.
He volunteers it. Yeah, right?
Don't do that. Yeah.
You can say we're very happy we drafted Brandon Ayuk. We had Brandon Ayuk right there with CeeDee Lamb.
We would have taken Brandon Ayuk if Javon Kinlaw wasn't there. They said that, right? Yeah. They liked him that much, they would have taken him.
No, they said they would have considered it. But they also said that if they couldn't get Trent Williams, they would have considered just taking Colton McKivitz in the 4th round and having him battle for the left tackle spot.
They consider some crazy things. Yeah, you never really know. Tell me about Mac Jones' deep ball outside the numbers. Can he hit Kittle down the sideline? Does he hit Sanders for the Super Bowl win?
Yeah. It's by far the weakest arm of the 5 big quarterbacks that we've discussed ad nauseum. Yes. There's no doubt. But it's not like I would say it's a way better deep ball than Jimmy and a stronger arm than Jimmy.
Yes. There's no question.
That doesn't say ton, but At least
no, but I mean,
yeah.
part of the thing with Mac Jones is he throws a nice deep ball. He throws it early. He throws it. Now I have some clips in the Auburn game.
Feel for it.
He does.
He does. He just puts it on.
Now, but what you can say is that, well, he's throwing to the best receivers in the league in college football, and he better throw with anticipation. He better cut it loose, right?
Hey, but those guys separate down the field easy, right? All four of them did.
Yep.
But he always puts that ball over the right shoulder in stride. He's actually he has a really good feel for throwing the deep ball. And I think the deep ball is something that you need feel to throw because it's tough to measure up. You just got to blade that ball out there.
Timothy says, with the way the O-line set up, we can keep Jimmy G and trade our number 3 pick to Atlanta for Julio Jones and their second-round pick and win now.
I don't think they want to keep Jimmy G, Timothy. I'm sorry. I think the Niners.
If they want to trade the number 3 pick for Julio Jones, just use it on the next Julio, and it's Kyle Pitts. I'm sorry. Okay, let's get back to our show before we run out of time here. Last one. The odds of the Niners getting a franchise quarterback in this draft. This is my favorite topic. We've been talking about it on the phone. Vish, break it down for us, and I'll get into it too.
Yeah, so if anybody, has observed me over the past few months, I've had the honor of doing this show with Grant. It's that I'm a little bit superstitious, and I have kind of a sadistic logic way of looking at things at times. And right now, the numbers game. So the Niners trying to project if the Niners quarterback would be successful is actually so weird. Like, let's forget who the quarterback is, because at the end of the day, none of us actually know or have a clue which one of these guys are going to be successful. So let's just say in a vacuum, it's one of Lance, Wilson, Fields, or Jones, all four who have a path to be very successful in the NFL, right? We can agree on that. Okay. So let's say it's that scenario. Here's where I stand, okay? Just by the numbers. So first of all, in an ideal world, you would think that the Niners quarterback is going to be successful because no quarterback has ever been drafted to a top 3 play caller, 2 young and ascending very good receivers, a top 2 or 3 tight end in the NFL, a pretty good offensive line or an okay one with a Hall of Fame offensive tackle. You add the fact that you have a Hall of Fame center and you're going to have a run game, right? This is quarterback heaven, right? Where I stand with the problem is that if you look at there's five quarterbacks in this draft, right? The likeliest scenario is that there's 2 successful quarterbacks from this draft, 1 middling one, and 2 busts. It's likely that there's 1 successful one, 4 busts. It's likely that there's 3 successful ones, 2 busts, but all 5 are not going to be successful. And the
I broke it down in an article a couple of days ago where the last 20 years, you can only really point to 17 quarterbacks taken in round 1 who definitely lived up to expectations. And the 17 out of 59, that's like 28%. 29.
And there's 2 scenarios. Let's look at the 2 that come to me off the top of my head. 83 is way too young for me, or way too old for me. But if you're talking in terms of, even 99, the year I was born is young. But if you're talking about 5 quarterbacks going in the first round, let's look at 18 and 99. 18, I think Allen and Lamar are big hits. Baker is solid, but not a huge hit, not a bust. And then right now, the way it looks is Rosen's a massive bust. Jury's still out on Darnold, but there's not looking good. Say anything, right? You can't say it's looking good for him. And then you go to 99. McNabb was a hit. I would say Culpepper was pretty much a hit, but then Couch, McNown, and Akili Smith were massive busts. So for that reason, that's where I look at it. And the thing about this draft that makes it harder is I think we all have kind of reached a consensus where we think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be good, right? And so if Trevor Lawrence is good, I think the best case scenario, just the superstitious part in me and just the fan part in me is kind of hoping that Trevor Lawrence is like this, not a massive failure. I don't wish failure on him, but I just wish that he's not like what everybody expects him to be. So now you have 2 possible quarterbacks that can be good, and the Niners quarterback's in the best possible scenario. So he's going to be good, and I'm thinking of it like that. But the likely scenario is that I think we all agree Trevor Lawrence is good, which basically leaves 1 more quarterback from this draft that's going to be really successful.
No, right? The way I look at it is, look, 17 quarterbacks in 20 years. That's telling me that most likely it's just Trevor Lawrence. Most likely. But there are examples of there being 2 franchise quarterbacks coming from a draft. Recently. But I think it's more likely that there's 0. And the fact that we see 1 makes me question whether there's 2. Because I'm sure, how many years in the last 20 years have there been 2? Maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5.
I mean, I would say the last 4 years right now, we've almost always gotten 2 that we feel great about right away. We felt great, like Deshaun Patrick Mahomes in 17. In 18, you got Allen and Lamar. In 19, you have Kyler and nobody else, but that was also everybody agreed a worst quarterback draft. And in 20, you have Burrow and Herbert, who we feel.
Well, you did have 3 guys going top 15 in 2019.
Right.
You had 3 guys going top 6 in 2020.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like I think that's the part of it that I hate talking about it, because you're talking about the career of people that are my age and stuff.
True.
But the likelihood is that, and I think that's where people don't see, because like everybody has a guy, right? Everybody has Lance, everybody has Wilson, everybody has Fields, but the likelihood is that 2 of these guys aren't going to be successful. Now, circumstance is going to be part of it, but I mean, at the end of the day, that excuse isn't really given. So for that reason, I am a little nervous about this entire pick and all of that as a fan, not as an analyst, but as a fan, just because you look at that precedence and you look at the fact that Lawrence is very likely to be successful. It's tough to just look at this situation and be like, even though this quarterback's coming into the best possible situation, and just be excited and be like, yes, we're going to get a quarterback and it's all going to be good and Gucci.
Yeah. So like, look at 2003, number 1 pick, Carson Palmer.
But then Leftwich was a bust.
Leftwich 7. Bowler was 19 and Rex Grossman was 22. All these teams needed quarterbacks. This happens a lot where, I mean, a lot of people like Byron Leftwich. A lot of people loved Kyle Bowler. That dude had a cannon. And then there's years like 2004 where
you went Eli Rivers, Ben.
And they all hit.
2005, Rodgers and Smith. Like Rodgers was technically, Smith was technically, I guess, a hit at the end of the day. Not exactly what the Niners were looking for, and they ruined Smith too. And then, but
also 1 pick after Rodgers, Jason Campbell, not exactly.
Oh right, I forgot about Jason Campbell.
And look at 2006, you got Vince Young,
Jay Cutler, Matt Leinart. 2007 was Jamarcus Russell, Brady
and Quinn.
Yeah, 2008 is Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco. 2009 is Matthew Stafford,
Sanchez, Freeman.
Yes. 2010 is Sam Bradford, Jimmy Clausen,
Tim
Tebow, and Colt McCoy. I think those were the 4 talked about. 11 is Cam, who was a hit, and then you go Locker, Gabbert, Ponder. I mean, I still don't know how Ponder was drafted in the top 15. God only knows, but he was drafted in the top 15. And then 12 was Tannehill, Luck.
Griffin. And then after 12, it gets bad. It's like 13, EJ Manuel.
13 was just a bad quarterback draft. Like I remember EJ Manuel, nobody said he should go in the first round, excuse me. And 14 was also considered to be a bad
Manziel and Bridgewater. Yes.
Teddy Two Gloves. And then 15 was
Jameis,
Mariota Winston. 16 was Goff, Wentz, and
Paxton Lynch.
Paxton Lynch was also in the draft. And then 17 was,
So guys, I know it's a very exciting time, but history tells us that the Niners have to be very, very careful.
You skipped 02, Joey Harrington and David Carr.
That's right.
01 was Mike Vick, Drew Brees.
I think there was also Patrick
2000 was Chad Pennington.
Oh, yeah. So, look, guys, what we're trying to say is there may not be a right answer here. We're arguing Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson. We could look back in 5 years and be like, dang, we really overanalyzed that one. But it happens every year.
That's where I'll say, and I really want Justin Fields, but I'll say this as a fan's perspective to all the other Niners fans. Don't get too set in on a guy, because at the end of the day, even if the guy you don't want, who Kyle wants, just be happy whoever Kyle wants, because that guy's gonna have the best chance to succeed in terms of his environment, and because Kyle likes him, and that's the ultimate thing I would say. Don't be so set in on it. It has to be Fields. It has to be Lance. I'm going to be so upset if it's Jones, or I'm going to be so upset if it's Lance, or I'm going to be so upset if it's Fields. It's because at the end of the day, honestly, like, you just don't know. You just don't know.
And the Niners don't know, and the league doesn't know. It's a very inexact science.
And if the guy is good after 2 years and you think you have something, and then 4 years later he's not even on your team, like Carson Wentz, that's not good either. He's got to be your guy for the next 10 years.
Correct. Johns George says, in my opinion, 49ers are not in for Wilson. They don't even call the Jets for the second pick, but Kyle and Lynch knew somehow that Falcons would pick their guy, Lance. What do you think?
I mean, the Falcons, they called the Falcons, though, but they also tried to get to the 6 and 5. They said they tried 6, they tried 5, they tried 4, and they landed at 3. So
it may not necessarily be that they went to a specific number, because the Falcons, good point. Green Glass Full says, anyone remember my classmate at Jesuit High School, Sacramento, Gio Carmazzi? Oh, dang. Drafted by the Niners. The next Montana Young football. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, the Brady Six, one of my favorite documentaries. Steve Mariucci talks about why they drafted Giovanni Carmazzi over Tom Brady.
Who wanted Giovanni Carmazzi? Was it Walsh or was it Mariucci?
I think it was Walsh.
Whew! Okay, Domain Threat says the offense Lance ran in college looks a lot like Kyle's. Just saying, could play a factor here.
No,
I actually think that's true. Yeah, I think that's a factor. Yep. Because I know Kyle and Mike like to see certain things on film. It doesn't necessarily seeing a guy turn his back and be comfortable with play action doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a franchise quarterback, but it's something they feel is necessary. At the time, I thought Jason Campbell was the second coming of Jesus Christ. LOL. Yeah, well, you in Washington.
Funny thing is, he wasn't a bad quarterback.
He played at Auburn, right? Did he win a national championship?
He went to the playoffs with Washington with Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
He got the pulp beaten out of him by Aldon Smith on that infamous Monday night game of Colin Kaepernick's first career start.
Did.
He wasn't a bad player. He was tough. I do think that like the league has made it easier for quarterbacks to be immediate successes and not be massive busts. Like Mitchell Trubisky is probably, other than Josh Rosen, the most associated as massive draft bust in the last 4 or 5 years. And Mitchell Trubisky still went to the playoffs with the team.
He has a winning record and like
good a Pro Bowl season. So exactly. For the most part, you're not going to have Tim Couches and Joey Harringtons and Keely Smiths, I think.
Although Josh Rosen and Dwayne Haskins just entered the chat.
True.
Hey, real quick before we go, because we're going up on an hour and a half, and I appreciate all the time you give me. As we leave, I'm just checking out. I love the Lance Zierlein scouting reports, and I love that he gives a player comp. Do you know the player comp he gives Mac Jones? Can you guess?
Matt Ryan?
Not quite.
Kirk Cousins?
Also named Jones. Starter in the league, Daniel Jones. Compares him to Daniel Jones. Is that fair in your opinion?
No, that's a terrible comp. That's a terrible comp.
Yeah. Well, anyway, just want to throw that out there. Vish, thank you as always for your time. Amin says you should be on ESPN. I agree.
I appreciate
Pretty soon you will be, and you won't be able to just call in from your bedroom. But for the time being, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. This was
fun. And make sure you subscribe to Vish if you don't already. We'll be back next Monday because that's just what we do on Mondays, Vish. See you guys next time.